So let's get to the big three.
Number 3.
When people want to surrender, you don't kill them, and they have to pose an imminent threat. It's hard to believe that two people on a raft trying to survive would pose an imminent threat.
Yep, that is former Army General Don Bacon, who's a big anti-Trumper, talking about Venezuela. Maduro's got to go. And both sides are asking the Trump team what the goal is while the Dems focus on the drug boat bombing. We take a look at the stakes.
Number 2.
Are we going to just continue to do the status quo that we're doing right now? I don't think that's the answer, because that doesn't seem to persuade Putin to stop the war. I think what we need to do, significantly increase military pressure.
Yes, General Jack Keane, again, 100% right. Your move, Moscow. Trump team flies to Russia to engage Vladimir Putin directly on the major progress made with Ukraine. The key to peace, making Putin's walkaway, which I think is likely, but make it costly.
Number 1.
And I can say, having had the privilege of representing Tennessee in years past, I want to tell you that I have never seen the political tides shift as far and as fast as we're seeing them move in this election.
I, for one, am not happy to hear Al Gore again, but we are talking about Tennessee, special election in that state, and so much to learn from both parties with the result and how it all leads to how affordability will make or break the midterms, from health care to interest rates to energy costs. We'll discuss it. Let's bring in Trace Gallagher. Trace, great to see you.
Great to be here, Brian, as always.
Yeah, what brings you to New York? Do you just want to be cold?
Yeah, I mean, it's Christmas. I want to see a little bit of snow, and I got my wish. So here
you
I
did.
am.
Well, yeah, we're going to get it today. Are we getting it now?
It's raining right now, and it looks like it might be starting to sleet a little bit, so it's cold out there. And, I'm not a weather guy, but let me tell you, if I was, I would say we're going to see 70% chance of snow by 4 o'clock this afternoon.
So I'm just wondering if Tennessee, they had the special election today, and everyone seems to be saying, what are you talking about, a special election?
Yeah.
Well, they're going to ask to vote on this. And Mark Green left that seat for another opportunity, which is unbelievable. I mean, just commit to 2 years. If you're going to win an election, commit to 2 years, unless you have a medical issue.
Right.
But having said that, I'm wondering if weather plays a role.
It might. I mean, it might play a role because, there's across the country, in California, we saw this in Proposition 50. There was a low turnout, Republican voters in special elections and these midterm elections. They have a tendency to not show up. A lot of mail-in voting, and it's really getting people to the polls. And quite frankly, the Democrats have become very good at knocking on doors, getting people to the polls, driving them, organizing those whole, hey, you need me to mail this thing in for you. They're very good at that. The Republicans are starting to get better, but they need to go a distance. And this is a big race because, I mean, you're looking at deep red, District 7, right, Tennessee? And it's within the margin of error right now. Now, listen, some polls have it a little further apart. I think that Bain's going to lose this thing. But again, it's close enough where it's making a lot of news and it's going to make a big impression on Tennessee.
So, Trace, I would say there's lessons to learn if it's close, if there was a John Fetterman-like candidate on the Democratic side. Because they chose people who are open in a red state.
Right.
But this is not John Fetterman.
No.
This is more left-wing than most squad members, who, by the way, are reporting for duty to help her out. So she's not even pretending as if we don't know what type of lawmaker she will be.
Right. And that's the whole thing is she's not trying to ease into this. That's the funniest part about this is you think even Zoran Mamdani was trying a little bit. He was on Martha's show and he's trying to ease into it, right? Kind of win some people over. She doesn't care. She's saying, this is who I am. I don't really believe in defunding the police anymore. That was a younger me, that kind of stuff. But for the most part, she's like, this is who I am, and I think you're going to like it.
So, I mean, we can't forget this. Cut 3.
I hate the city. I hate the bachelorettes. I hate the pedal taverns. I hate country music. I hate all of the things that make Nashville, apparently, an it city to the rest of the country, but I hate it.
Yeah, but you have this young...
Should be case closed.
Right. You have this young contingent in Nashville that's doing the same thing that happened in New York City, that we're seeing in Los Angeles. You're seeing people come out, and they believe that it's time for a change in Tennessee and New York and these other places. And it's a shift. It's just a shift to the left. These young women who are very active and very prominent, we have them on our show on the other side a lot, but you can see these young women are very powerful in these big blue cities. and they're getting more powerful. And you look at Nashville is not a big blue city, but it has a huge influx of young people from around the country, and they're changing things. They're making a big change
because they're trying to show up, and
because
they're showing up.
They're showing up, and they're active. I mean, that's the whole thing. Is when you get active and you start running for city councils and you start running for these positions, you start to become very influential. We saw it in San Francisco in the 80s and 90s. We're seeing it in Los Angeles now, even further, and we're seeing it in New York, where you see a city that is far left, even going further left, and you think, how is that possible? Well, it is if you have the right influence in the right places.
But none of their programs are working. If it was working, Gavin Newsom would have 70% approval rating, like Governor Beshear in Kentucky.
But it's not about results. It's about ideology. It's about what they think. It's about nirvana, right? They're promising nirvana. They're not promising the results of the past worked. They're promising you it's going to work now because they've got the elixir. They've got the remedy, and here's what it is.
So here's Speaker Johnson, who's got to be worried. I mean, he's got such a thin margin, and Marjorie Taylor Greene's the next one to leave, by the way, cut 8.
The problem is when you have a deep red district, a lot of the people take for granted that the Republican or the conservative is going to win. And so this is in the middle of a holiday. A lot of people aren't even really aware this is on the ballot. So we're here. President Trump called into our rally this morning. He'll be doing a tele-rally with Matt and I this evening to raise awareness, to get out the vote, to make sure that the people in Tennessee and Nashville and the 14 surrounding counties understand they better get out and vote. This is a radical leftist on the ballot.
So you think he's worried?
Well, I think he is worried, but I don't think that's the major problem. I mean, he's talking about, well, listen, we got to get people out to vote like we talked about at first, but we're talking about early polling. Early polling has nothing to do with voters turning out. It has everything to do with the way the voters feel. I mean, if these things are correct, they're getting people who may or may not show up, but they're still getting their opinion. So it's a totally different ballgame to talk about turnout and that, you can blame it on turnout and then to say, but 2 months before anybody turned out to vote, people were feeling like this. They were feeling close enough that it was within the margin of error. If the polling is correct, that's a different phenomenon altogether than just turnout.
All right, I'm going to give you a scenario, and you'll probably talk about this tonight on your show. If there is a single-digit win for Republicans, right, a loss would be devastating, but that goes beyond description. So a single-digit win for Republicans. I think some of the things you got to learn from it is that Trump has to begin to campaign like he's on the ballot.
Yeah.
I think he's got to go everywhere. I think that he travels and he's active. I get it. But he's not doing the rallies. And you know what makes him? It makes him a better president when he's out there. He doesn't necessarily need to go to an opposition meeting. But know what he needs? He says he would judge by how people are feeling by the reaction he gets from crowds.
Yeah.
Not everyone's got to be a 5,000-seat crowd, but you've started to see what people are working on, what they care about. When you say things that you think are big hits and people, you bring up immigration. Immigration at the border, popular. Immigration running through the streets with ICE chasing them, not as popular.
No.
So the president maybe doesn't agree with that.
Yeah.
And maybe the president doesn't agree that it's not as popular, but if he hears it, then he'll begin to understand because nobody's more attuned to the American public than him.
I think just by the way, on the whole immigration running through the streets and so on and so forth, I think you look at the polls and it's pretty dead even across the country. I mean, we see the social media side of it. We see the protesters. We see many of these paid protesters. We see the chaos because that's what the left media wants you to see is nothing but the chaos. You don't see the success stories that we try to show. There's a lot of success. To your first point, I think the president does need to come and show up at some of these things. He's busy. He's busy and he's got a lot on his plate right now. But for him to show up in person is a big motivating factor for any election, especially District 7 in Tennessee. You show up once, you show up twice, and all of a sudden people are back in the game. So I totally agree with you that, campaigning in person is a huge factor in all of this.
Well, let's talk about Venezuela. The president had a conversation with Maduro, at which time I was heartened to hear. He basically didn't say, I'm thinking about doing a deal on your oil. He's saying, no, you got to go with your family, and you can go somewhere. And I believe Turkey would be the most logical place for him to go, judging by his relationship with Erdogan. Without that, I mean, this is going to get really dicey unless the president can pressure him out. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think the president said 2 nights ago, he was in Air Force One, he was saying, listen, don't read into this. I mean, he had the meeting last night with his people talking about his generals,
different
and,
things.
and he was talking about, listen, what are we going to do about Venezuela? I don't think that you're going to see, airstrikes today or tomorrow or maybe even next week, but they're giving him a little bit of time. There's no timeline. I think they're giving Maduro some time. I think what they're doing is they're ratcheting up the pressure inside. The internal pressure in Venezuela gets to be a point where Maduro will make a decision on his own with a little bit of a nudge. And I think that's kind of what they're waiting for. It might take a week. It might take 10 days. I think you're going to see some internal pressure ratchet up in the next 10 days. And I think that they think that Maduro is going to grab his family and go somewhere.
And it's all about the military. So, where's the military? And the president made it clear it's kind of different. Hey, the CIA is working inside Venezuela. Right. So, he didn't make a clue. So we got to let the military know, look, you could be looking at war crimes, or you could be helping the transition to the rightfully elected party. Right. It's not regime change.
Right. I mean, listen, they have put all the signals in the right places, and he's been very open about this. The president loves to be able to kind of say, hey, I'm in charge, and here's why, and here's what we're going to do next. And by the way, we've got people in here, and we might have some people in here, who knows? But I think that's the whole concept here, is that he's telling Maduro, just like Israel was in Iran, saying Mossad is in there. You might not see them. You might not believe they're there or know they're there. They're there. The CIA is in Venezuela. Trump is he's telegraphing that, and I think he's putting the signal out that it's time for you to at least think about packing up and heading somewhere else.
Here's what General Jack Keane said we can do now, and what's significant is who's not helping Maduro. Cut 18.
The truth is, Maduro in Venezuela has three primary allies outside the region, Nicaragua and Cuba inside the region for sure. But it's Russia, it's China, and it's Iran. But for the most part, other than sending a Russian general in there to talk to Maduro and likely to prop him up, they're not doing much here. They're maintaining their silence, those allies. And when Iran was under the attack by Israel, the United States decisively supported it. No material aid whatsoever from China, and they certainly had the capacity to do it.
So that's significant, isn't it, Trace?
Well, I mean, listen, Iran's got its hands full, right? Iran is on its heels still from Israel.
They're running
Russia's
out of water.
got its handful. That's right. Iran is kind of a mess right now. And you see pictures in Iran of young people, same, influential, not wearing any head coverings at all, out dancing, out doing things that you would never have seen 20 years ago. It's happening. Iran is on its heels, and they don't know what's going to happen there. You're not going to get help from Iran. Russia's got its handful. China wants nothing to do with this Venezuela thing. So it looks like Maduro is on his own.
But we know that they loved having the influence in the region and spreading communism throughout the hemisphere. So the big story is the second tap on the airstrikes. And September 2nd, they want to say that Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, called for the second tap on the blown-up boat because there were survivors. Turns out the New York Times does a report, says we talked to 5 different people. It wasn't Pete. It was an admiral. The president, Pete comes out and says, I fully support the admiral. The question is, how big a deal do you think the second strike on the survivors is?
I think in the context, it's just the mission. So what happens is you have Pete Hegseth, you had the Washington Post coming out saying Hegseth did this, he ordered this. President says he didn't. Hegseth says he didn't. President says he believes him, I should have said. And then you have what happened is they had the second strike on September 2nd. So Admiral Bradley conducts the second strike. That's just part of the mission. If there's no order from Hegseth, the Washington Post said that General Bradley agreed to the order that Hegseth gave him. If there was no order, the general was just doing the mission. That's it. The mission was to go after the boat. The mission was to take the boat out because you cannot leave a boat drifting with the drug still on board because somebody else is going to pick it up. That's the mission. If there's no illegal order from the top or order from the top, there's nothing for the general to do except the mission.
So I asked Secretary of State Pompeo today, if you're going to kill Soleimani in Iraq, and he survived the first hit, you leave him alone? No. You pick him up, you arrest him?
No,
you finish him.
We talked about this with 2 Navy SEALs on the show last night. What do you do? And they say, listen, if you go after a tank and you don't destroy the tank, you go back again. If you go after a boat and you believe there are weapons or something on there that you think is nefarious, you take it out. That's the mission. It has nothing to do with going back after survivors. It is completing the mission. That's it. It's this. If the order is not given, if the Washington Post screwed this up, which it looks like they did, and the order was not given by Pete Hegseth, that is the key to the whole thing.
The Geneva Convention says by denying quarter or aid to the wounded, you could be in violation of their rights, which seems to be the Democrats are worried about that. But were they worried about Barack Obama, who did it 585 times? Do you know what the Human Rights Watch has in common with Amnesty International and with a study by Stanford and NYU? They talked about double tap hits from during the Obama administration, mostly in Pakistan and Afghanistan. I didn't see any Democrat protesting Barack Obama. Did you?
Did you see any Democrats protesting Barack Obama when he deported all those people, the deporter-in-chief? No, there was no protest. There was no protest for a lot of things Obama did, but Obama's not Trump.
Trace, we're going to see
Trump
you tonight at 11 Eastern time. We're going to see you outnumbered. Is that what you're wearing?
This is what I'm wearing. I'm going to put a tie on.
I think they're going to be happy with it.
I'm going to put a tie on.
I think you should.
Good. It's going to be a couch. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks so much. Trace Gallagher, thanks so much for joining us. Fox News at Night tonight at 11. Back with your calls in just a moment.
I hate the city. I hate the bachelorettes. I hate the pedal taverns. I hate country music. I hate all of the things that make Nashville, apparently, and it's city to the rest of the country, but I hate it.
And that is Afton Bain for Congress. She's a Democrat, and she wants to represent Nashville, Tennessee, the 7th District. And as you can hear, she hates it. These are conversations that she had that she believes that she's been unable to explain, but yet she's within single digits of a massive upset in Tennessee. What does that tell the Republican Party? Well, a man that knows all about as experienced as anyone and successful as anyone joins us now. Republican Senator from Texas, Senator John Cornyn. Senator, are you concerned that a woman who says things like this and worse would be within single digits of winning that House seat?
Yeah, I think it's a unique approach, Brian. I don't think it's going to work. I mean, how in the world can you inspire people to support you and talking about what you want to accomplish for their benefit if you say you hate them and you hate the city they live in? I don't get it. So,
but what if the polls are correct, Senator? You've seen it all. You've seen upsets and you've seen bad polling and good polling. So if the polls are correct and it's a 2 or 3 point race, I mean, what should Republicans take from this?
Well, what they should take from it is they better turn out to vote. And because, you know, what happens in these races, Brian, in these primaries and these special elections and the runoffs is that only a small fraction of the voters actually turn out to vote. And it's the folks who do turn out who get to choose, not the ones who don't show up. So I think this should be a call to action to make sure people turn out to vote and make sure that this disaster in the making doesn't happen.
Do you agree, and maybe you don't, that the conventional wisdom is affordability is the hot issue in this country? Most polls say that. Does Senator Cornyn think that?
It's always been an issue. I mean, if you think about the economic issues, I mean, every poll, you mentioned polls a moment ago, every poll you take about it, you ask what people's concerns are, economics and kitchen table issues rise to the very top. The reason I think it's such an issue now is because we're coming off 40-year high inflation under the Biden administration, and everybody knows that cost of living has increased. What we're trying to do is get the economy moving again so that we see economic growth and job creation far exceed the rate of inflation as the Federal Reserve tries to knock that down. But yeah, it's always been an issue, but of course now it's very much in the news with what happened in New York. Because
I think they said, okay, Trump's in charge, inflation's going to drop, and it's dropped to 2.8%, but it hasn't dropped from the all-time highs, and you want to get it down to 2%. So people are saying, where's the gratification for changing parties in power? And brings us to the big debate now. Healthcare subsidies, Obamacare, you've been fighting it every step of the way. No Republican support. Now you're supposed to fix it. If you don't want to hurt people who are living paycheck to paycheck, who now wonder how they're going to afford their policies, what are you guys working on, I hear, from a bipartisan level to address this?
Well, first of all, as President Trump has said, we're going to quit sending the money to insurance companies. Insurance companies skim 20% off the top for profit and administration, and that money doesn't help people who need health care. And so there's been a number of good ideas that Dr. Bill Cassidy and Senator Mike Crapo, chairman of the Finance Committee, have been floating that we're working on that would provide people catastrophic health care coverage, but then send money to them to put in their own health savings account.
Do you think you get Democrats to sign on to that?
Well, we need to try, but I think to your point, there's always a contrast, and the contrast here may be between Democrats who want to keep pouring money into a broken system that's caused 18% increase in premiums in Texas alone this year, versus and that is enriching insurance companies versus a system that actually helps patients and helps consumers and gets money in their pocket. I think that's a pretty good contrast.
Senator, you're going to have a fight to get that nomination and keep the Senate seat. You got Ken Paxton and Wesley Hunt. Your thoughts about your Republican race?
Well, I've been in a lot of races, as you noted before, Brian, and fortunately I've always been successful. But this one is a little different. Certainly the Attorney General has, I think the main problem he has is I think there's a big question mark whether he could win the election in November or not. And also, who's on the ballot in November makes a lot of difference in terms of down-ballot turnout and down-ballot races, including these 5 new congressional seats in Texas. So I think I'm best situated to do that.
Senator, I think you're a real asset in there, a real level-headed person who's really helped the country a lot. Bruce Schneier joins us now. And Bruce, this administration is very pro-AI, and they're doing everything possible to beat China. Is that the right move?
I'm optimistic about AI. I don't think the arms race is the right metaphor. This is not the 1960s. This is not the way science works. It's very international. China produces DeepSeek. It's a model advances, and we all see it. We all learn from the paper. Google publishes papers. Microsoft does. It's not really an arms race. I do want to see us advancing, but it really has to be international because that's the way the science works.
Right. So what AI has already done, how has it affected us already? They say, experts like you say, this is hit us dramatically quicker than the whole internet of 2000.
It's hard to know. I mean, so AI is a buzzword and a technology. It's a lot of things. You use Apple or Google Maps, you're using AI. You're getting a feed from social media, AI is giving it to you. Right? It's not the AI we think of it as chatbots. We're seeing a lot of experiments, not a lot of uses. I worry, it's not whether AI can take your job, it's whether AI can convince your boss that it can take your job, and then it's too late, right? And we're not seeing yet all the different ways AI can either augment or replace people. It is happening fast, and advances are continuing, but I don't think we've seen big changes yet.
So what changes have we seen, like in country to country? It's not just the U.S., it's not just China. I mean, people are embracing this technology, it seems.
But it is worldwide. Okay. And no, it is not U.S. versus China. Many other countries, Switzerland last month released a public AI model, not corporate, about as good as last year's best model, so almost to the top. But here's one not built on a near-term profit stack. Super interesting. Singapore is building a model based on Southeast Asian languages because they're not represented well in these Western models. There's a lot of experimentation around the globe, but it is all happening in the open, in public. The arms race is a metaphor that the U.S. tech giants want you to swallow because it just means they can run roughshod over everything. But it's really not the way to think.
Okay, a couple of things that you do outline in your book and in these columns. Like, for example, in Japan, you talk about a 33-year-old engineer who was a fringe candidate in a field of 30, ends up coming in fifth. His party ends up playing a major role in Japanese politics because he used AI to go on YouTube and answer thousands of questions and seem tapped into the Japanese public.
So this is actually a way better story than he wrote, because 2 months ago, he got elected to the upper chamber in Japan, the upper chamber of the Diet, equivalent to our Senate. And he now has a party. And in Japan, when you're a party, you get funding. He's using that funding to create AI tools to help government. So he's building AI tools for sense making, to be able to communicate with his constituents, understand what they want, and craft legislation or amend legislation to suit. It's kind of an amazing story. You're right, an engineer who's trying to re-engineer Japanese politics, but to be more responsive, to be more democratic. It is an amazing. I actually spoke to him last week. He's a really cool guy.
So you also talk about in Brazil, there was a way to, I guess, automate judicial procedures, not verdicts or opinions, but procedures to organize caseloads. I mean, that's something where AI has helped, right?
So this is actually another really great story. So Brazil is more litigious than the United States by a lot. They spend 1% of their GDP on litigation in that country. And the government spends another 1% paying out in cases against the government. They're using AI not to be judges, but to assign cases and workload and to figure out what to do. And it's working. It's reducing a multi-year backlog in cases. The weird part of that story is the attorneys are now using AI to file more cases. So cases are being resolved faster, but more cases are being filed. Now, this feels like a good democracy story. I mean, I want there to be litigation against government. That feels like a way for people to hold government accountable. And for that to be more efficient is a good thing. But we regularly see these AI arms races, and one side uses it and then the other side uses it. And that, how that shakes out, we just don't know the answer.
Right. So, and just a United States story in California, the Cal Matters, a nonprofit, nonpartisan news organization. What role did this play?
All right, so I'm going to tell you about Cal Matters because you might actually like them. They're an organization that collects every public utterance by California officials. Every floor speech, campaign email, tweet, everything. Combines it with their voting record and who funds them and who lobbies them. And you as a citizen can go look at that database and just see what your legislator is doing. They have a program just for journalists, so you can access it, I can't. It's called Tip Sheet. And what AI does is it looks through all of that and looks for anomalies, but it doesn't publish them. It makes them available for human journalists to look at, do the research, and see if there's a story. It's a really interesting way we're doing citizen watchdogging, but with AI not replacing the journalists, but augmenting their capabilities.
And to be able to do that, you got to be a master at the command structure. Those are my terms, maybe not yours. Like command to form something like that, correct?
So Cal Matters does, but what they did is they built this tip sheet. So they did all that, mastering of LLMs and queries and how to format things. And then they make it available in an easy to read form for journalists like you.
So interesting. So that's some of the positives. So we understand in terms of the race itself, I was shocked to see Sam Altman. He was the first one to formally, that I could see, come out to the general public and say AI is going to revolutionize everything. And it's a little scary too. And he's fine. He announced OpenAI. And he says, by the way, I'm putting billions into it. I'm getting billions invested into it. And we're not going to be profitable at the earliest to 2030. And then we find out they're no longer perhaps the leader as Google rolls out Gemini and they seem to have caught up. And now he's saying it's a, all hands on deck moment for chatbot GPT. I was wondering if you could give me an idea of who's doing what in this business.
It's really interesting that all of the top tier models are about the same. You'd imagine with these different skunk works doing secret stuff, they'd be different. But when you look at performance, they're all about the same. My guess is that these large models will never be profitable. That, we don't want a chatbot that does everything. We want a chatbot that is a good travel agent or a good investment counselor or a good talk show host, right? We want to do a specialized thing. And we're seeing these smaller, nimbler, cheaper models. That Swiss model should terrify the big companies. And this is 2 universities in Switzerland with some government funding and a supercomputer center they had lying around from particle physics days. They built a model that is like 12 months, 12 months behind the leading models. That's freaking amazing. And we're seeing more countries do that, more organizations do that. I'm not sure these large, massive U.S. tech giants have a future.
That's so interesting because we remember in 2000, we had thought every one of these .coms were going to be so profitable when in the end it's only a handful that survived and so much money was lost, the so-called .com bubble. Bruce, I know you're an expert on AI, maybe less so for finances, but should people be worried about an AI bubble?
I'm not a finance expert, but we know that the Dow's being propped up by these 7 companies. We know that there's massive investments. The wild card is tech advances. They are pushing for breakthroughs. Now, we don't know. We don't know whether these LLMs will get incrementally better as we give them more compute and more data, or if we reach a plateau, right? Recently, the chief AI scientist at Meta left to form his own company because he thinks that these LLMs are a dead end. We've seen their trick. We've got to do something else. And he has a bunch of new ideas. So we could see these revolutions at any time. We can't predict them. But right now, with current tech, I'm betting on the smaller, cheaper, sometimes not even corporate models. So it's already revolutionized warfare in real time in the Ukraine-Russia war. These drones aren't being flown by men or women with joysticks in a basement. They're now programmed, AI programmed, I understand. They basically give them the message. It's up to them to get to the target, explode the target on their own. They're figuring it out. It amazes me. Does it amaze you? It is. And your audience needs to understand that these are not LLMs. AI is bigger. We always talk about the chatbots and the image generators, the large language models. There's a lot of predictive AI. The AI that's giving you turn-by-turn directions is not a chatbot. The AI that is piloting that drone, the AI that is looking through information, trying to find correlations, that is reading your chest x-rays, those are not chatbots. They are equally revolutionary, but they're different. They're smaller, they're more precisely created. They do one thing, very well or marginally well. And it's revolutionizing warfare. It's revolutionizing elections. I saw 2 weeks ago the first AI model that is used for door knockers. Right, the people on election day go door to door, knocking on the support of their candidate. Get out to the polls. I can drive you. So now there is an AI that tells them where to go, what to say, who they're talking to, gives them feedback. So something as tactical as that matters in U.S. elections all over the country, is being revolutionized by AI. And Bruce Schneier, our guest, he's talking about his book, Rewiring Democracy. So, Bruce, I imagine a lot of so-called consultants or Republican and Democratic experts are going to be looking to explore this. I remember, I think it was, we had somebody, was with Howard Dean's campaign. They talked about micro-targeting people, being able to get into neighborhoods and finding out in that household who votes for whom. And we thought that was revolutionary. So do you think the first party that understands what they can do with AI is going to have a huge impact like that party in Japan? Do you think any party is really digesting this fully and seeing what it can do? So both parties are. Generally, it's separate companies that work with either party. Several things we're seeing. We're seeing AIs that help people run for office. Now, don't think of Congress or Senate. Think of local office. Think of city council. No money, no time, no budget, no expertise. AI is helping candidates. Sometimes parties, sometimes not aligned candidates for police something which is not a party candidate. For polling, enormous amount of AI being used to help with opinion polls. It's a little weird. You're asking AI, not a person, but you can ask an AI a million questions. And the last thing is in formulating campaign strategy. And AI is helping that in the U.S. and around the globe. It's a party in Argentina that did an enormous amount in that last year. Wow, Bruce, fascinating stuff. You're on the cutting edge. You're tackling one of the most difficult, fast-moving topics in all the world. Bruce Schneier, thanks so much. Congratulations on your book that everyone should go out and get. Thanks so much, Bruce. Thank you.
For the full national team. Throws a shot, and the U.S. gets goal number 3 here in the 89th minute. Obi Jones. What a ball. Lalas. A wonderful strike.
And there you go. That is getting you all pumped up for the World Cup and the big drawing on Friday. And I love the fact that unlike 94, unlike the launch of MLS in 96, unlike other World Cups, I no longer have to. I don't have to go find soccer fans. I find sports fans that they don't have to be former players. Like you walk around the United States and you used to play, so you watch. Yeah, okay, I get it. Now I'm seeing people that I love football and I love soccer. And I'm going, wait a second, really? That's what's happened in this country, and that's why it is so perfect. Even though it was corruption that delayed this North American World Cup. We have FIFA World Cup 2026. The drawing happens at the Kennedy Center December 5th, and Fox Sports will cover it all with the best in the business. Alexi Lalas, Hall of Famer, now Fox Sports soccer analyst, and we love when you come by, Alexi.
Wow, that's awesome. You read it exactly the way I wrote it.
Right.
How you doing, buddy? Everything good?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, you look great. Are you working out or what? I mean, seriously, you look good.
Well, a little bit insulting, like as if I started working.
Well, you look better than normal.
Better.
You look better than normal.
Like, do you think that, you're saying to yourself, this guy could play again?
Yeah, I mean, you're in fighting shape.
Really?
Okay. You look wonderful. I mean, look, we live in interesting times. We live in wonderful times, as you mentioned, when it comes to soccer. And I think it's important that you mention it. Don't let anybody tell you that we're not a soccer-playing nation or we're not a soccer culture. Yes, we're different. Yes, we are unique. Given our history. But I will put American soccer players, American soccer coaches, American soccer fans up against anybody in the world in terms of their knowledge, their education, and their passion out there. And yeah, we do things a little bit differently, but that's okay.
And the one, I don't want to dwell on this because I know you're promoting, but the coaches thing is where I think we might be lacking. Do you agree with that? Out of everything you just said, do you think that's stopping us from the great young player not being the great player because we don't have the better coaching?
No, I don't think it's a coach. As a matter of fact, I think we have really, really good coaches that have given the opportunity. And look, it's not an excuse, but there is a reality that when you are an American coach, people might look at you differently. And we've certainly gotten over that from a player perspective. We have to get over it from a coaching perspective. I think there's still a lot of talent out there, coaching-wise.
So before we talk about the U.S. team, can you tell everyone why the drawing is so exciting? So
this Friday, 11:30 Eastern Time on Fox, myself and others will be down in D.C. at the Kennedy Center for the 2026 FIFA World Cup draw. Why is it so important? Biggest World Cup in history, 48 teams, 104 games with our friends to the North Canada, friends to South Mexico. But this is where it gets real in that there's going to be those bowls and those balls. And people are going to
legitimately random.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's
seeded.
It's seeded, all that kind of stuff. There's rankings of teams and all that kind of stuff. But we're going to find out who these teams are playing. And so Christian Pulisic in the United States, we're going to find out who they're playing in their 3 group stage games. We're going to find out Leo Messi, who in his own, in his new neighborhood and backyard, who he is going to defend the World Cup with Argentina and who they're going to play. We're going to find out who Cristiano and Portugal, and the list goes on and on and on. So it gets, like I said, real very, very quickly. But it's also an entertainment extravaganza because there will be celebrities, there will be legends, there'll be music, there'll be comedians, obviously be politics down there in D.C. So there's something for everybody in that 3.5-hour window to watch.
So the thing that's so different about this, I guess it's like the field of 64, I guess 68 now with college sports. Mm-hmm. But I should know this. It's the biggest field ever. Yep. 4 teams in a group still?
Yes, 12.
The first 2 teams advance and
12
one
groups
wild
of 4,
card?
and then some best third-place teams will go. So there's great opportunity to get out of the group. You should expect your U.S. team, regardless of what balls get pulled out or teams get pulled out on Friday, you should expect your U.S. team to advance from the group stage.
Are there firm seeds? Ones, and ones. Are the ones set?
Yeah, no. So it's based on rankings. There's pots. There's 4 different pots. Because we're hosting, we actually go to pot 1, which has the likes of the elites. You're talking about Spain and France and Argentina and stuff like that. So we won't get drawn with them. That's a good thing, okay? There's still very good teams in pot 2 and 3 and 4, but we will avoid some of the really, really good teams and the elite teams.
Great. So the theory is after that, matchups make everything. Yep. And for example, if you have these rugged matches, you might say, well, they're going to prevail. But what do they go through to get there? How healthy are you when you get to the knockout round?
Exactly. And they have red cards. You have injuries. Keep in mind that this is in the summer in the United States. I don't have to tell you or anybody else. It's hot. And that takes a toll. There are 4 indoor venues in the World Cup of the 11. So there's 4. Dallas, Houston, Atlanta, and Vancouver are indoor and climate controlled. And you will have an advantage. It will be a competitive advantage for the teams that get selected on Friday and Saturday to play in those indoor venues.
Wow, it's so interesting, too, because I remember, I think it was Brazil, where the U.S. team had to travel huge distances.
Yep.
Do you have to get on a plane and go 3,000 miles? How spread out is the country and the
They've tried
venues?
to regionalize this World Cup and limit travel. For example, the United States is playing already, it's been decided, there are 3 games. First game in L.A., second game in Seattle, third game back in L.A. And then they could move around the country. But they don't want teams going back and forth and in different countries. So they're trying to regionalize where the teams are playing.
All right, so that'll be great. The other thing is the U.S. team.
Yeah.
By almost all accounts, people say they're playing better, and
Yes.
they're playing without their best player.
Yep.
Christian Pulisic has decided not really to play that much as captain of the team.
Yeah.
I know you were critical of him staying out of the Gold Cup.
Yep.
Were you surprised he wasn't playing against Paraguay?
Look, it's easy for me to grumpy old man the thing. He is, I think, when all is said and done, going to go down as the greatest male American soccer player. He is heading in that direction, and he brings it when he's there. I just would want him there on a more consistent basis. But he will be there, and I think he will shine. There's nothing better than a World Cup except a home World Cup. And Christian Pulisic, or any of these players, now these players talk about brands. Well, there's nothing better in terms of enhancing your brand than at a home World Cup having a big World Cup.
So this is so interesting, and I don't follow like I used to, but for the longest time, if you go over, let's say Landon Donovan is playing for Everton in Britain, like he always wanted to come back here, but he wants to get better, go over there. And it used to be like, well, there's an arrogance to those European leagues as looked at Americans. Yeah. But are Americans who have spent time in the European leagues arrogant towards their own country? As if, I don't know if I want to go back and play American soccer for an American team, like we used to think it's an honor.
I think, and Mauricio Pochettino, who is the head coach, he actually just did an interview about this, and it was really interesting in the way that he talked about how in the past, my generation, we needed the national team to enhance our brand, enhance our opportunities. And some of these players, like you mentioned, are playing at some of the great teams and leagues in the world. And it's not that they don't care. I don't want to say that, but the relationship and the dynamic has changed, and it's different. And so Pochettino, I think, has recognized that as a problem and has tried to foster a new relationship with your team and indirectly with your country. Because ultimately, you're walking on the field and representing what I think is the greatest country in the world. You put your hand over your heart, you sing that national anthem, and win, lose, draw, all that doesn't really matter ultimately, because you're there to represent your country. And there has to be a pride that's involved, and there has to be a ruthlessness almost, and a desire. I want to get on that plane, even if I'm going thousands of miles back, because I want to represent that country.
Alexi, I don't remember what you guys did, but I always see our opponents much more enthusiastic about their country than the men's team. They don't seem pumped up to hear the national anthem. Like I'm watching these other guys, older than most of them are older than our team, showing that child pride for their country. Yeah. Are we going to get that? Do you sense a lack of nationalism? Are they as divided as many in this country are?
I think at times it absolutely has manifested in a lack of caring. And whether that's the truth or just the perception that we have, doesn't matter. If we look at this team and we say, well, it doesn't look like they care. And whether it's from the national anthem to when the whistle blows on the field. And
you've said that. You've said that at halftime and in the game.
Look, I don't know what success or that picture of the player and team that we want looks like. It's kind of like the obscenity from the Supreme Court. I can't tell you what it is, but I know it when I see it.
Yeah.
And we will know it when we see it next summer. From the moment they walk on the field, the pride that they show in representing their country that oftentimes manifests during the game, but it's even there during the national anthem. And I don't want to harp too much on the national anthem, but it is a moment, and it is an important moment. And I'll tell you a quick story. Panama went to the World Cup a few World Cups before. And I'll never forget watching the Panamanian players as the camera went down the line during that national anthem, tears streaming down their face. It didn't matter whether they were going to win or lose. Yeah. It was that they had that moment to represent the country that is near and dear to them in front of a global audience. And I hope that that's not lost on these players and on this team. I don't think it is, and I think it will kick in maybe into overdrive next summer during the World Cup.
Are they playing better?
Yes. I'm much more bullish about this team than I was even a few months ago. We're heading in a better direction. But whatever method to Pochettino, the head coach's madness, I'm starting to see a method, But ultimately, it's not going to matter until that whistle blows. And then that's all he and this team is going to be judged
So the one
on.
thing that was great for me is that I saw the same 25 players for like 12 years, right? I saw you, Balboa, Winalda, and Claudio Reyna. I saw these guys, some are in and out, get new players in. Okay, Kobe Jones comes off the bench. Is that a story? So I got to know you because there was no pro league, right? So you guys were playing all the time. I wasn't pulling you if they weren't being pulled from too many other places. I didn't realize what an advantage that was. That was a huge advantage. Now, it's a smaller pool, I guess.
Sure.
Not many players could play at your level in the country. But now you really have a lot of options, and players are all spread out. Hard to get them back, hard to play the same style, hard to develop that camaraderie where you got everybody's back.
Yeah, when I stepped on the field in 1994, I had never been on the books of a club team, which is completely not the way it happens.
Well,
But
how
same
old
with
were you?
Limbo.
How old
I
were
was
you?
24 years old, 23 years old, and I had never played in a
You were just
professional
coming out of
club
Rutgers.
setting. Yeah, basically. But all my experience was international because, to your point, we didn't have Major League Soccer. We didn't have those opportunities. Look, I am incredibly proud, a proud old soccer papa, if you will, at all of these opportunities and all of these advantages. And they don't have to go through the crap that we all did. That's what you want. You want it in a better situation, and it certainly is. But you hope that as that happens, they don't lose the lust and the wonder and the joy and the pride of representing their country at what I feel is the greatest, platform, which is the World Cup.
You also have the MLS Championship coming up.
Yes, Saturday. So I'm going to go from here down to New York, or down to D.C. for the draw on Friday, and then I'm going to get on a plane immediately and go down to Miami for MLS Cup. So a big soccer week.
So this is, I know you don't like leagues don't like to say that, but it really works for the league. The biggest player, the most attractive team, the most expensive team, with the best player, most famous player in the world who hasn't slipped much.
No,
right? At 39.
Messi's the real deal. I mean,
so they're playing for a championship. They won 4-0 in the semifinals.
Oh, they're crushing it. And Messi is absolutely the MVP
His
this year.
dad's the GM, basically.
He's amazing what he does, because it's one thing to be a superstar, but the reason why you're a superstar is when everybody's expecting you to do magical things, you still do it. And he brings it each and every time with this Inter-Miami team that is kind of this super club, a team that's more people will kind of tune in to watch fail than to win. Your Cowboys and your Yankees, but every league in sport needs that. The villains, they're all pretty in pink with the way they look. They're a really good team. But I'll tell you what, Vancouver, which is their opponent on Saturday, they don't care about Messi. They don't care about the money that they've spent or the names that they have. Vancouver is very, very comfortable with themselves, so it's a really good matchup.
So I'm going to take a short time out, unless you have to run.
No, I don't have to.
I'm so glad you're not on Outnumbered. You'd be a great guy. Have you ever done Outnumbered?
No, I don't think so. What the hell's the problem? Get me on Outnumbered.
Come on. Back in a moment.
I watch it constantly.
I'm going to ask you, Alexi, a very important question when you come back. Don't move.
It's going to create nearly 200,000 jobs for America. Since the creation of the White House FIFA Task Force earlier this year, Secretary Rubio's team at the State Department has worked tirelessly with the Department of Homeland Security to ensure that soccer fans from all around the world are properly vetted and able to come to the United States next summer easily.
So that is the President of the United States making another statement. He's pumped up for the World Cup. He helped get it here, and now he's going to be president when it is here. Alexi Lalas is a Fox Sports soccer lead analyst. He's going to be covering the MLS Cup on Saturday. It's on Saturday or Sunday?
Yeah, MLS Cup is Saturday. The FIFA draw is on Friday.
Okay, and what time is that game? Do you remember?
I can't remember when it is, but it's down in Miami, so don't worry.
It's going to be great. And Fox is going to have it. The broadcast,
on Big Fox, yep.
So the FIFA World Cup, the draw begins at 11:30. The coverage starts at 11:30 on Fox.
Eastern, yep.
When do we start making the draw and setting up the groups? So I know you're into the big pregame show.
Yeah, so there's a lot of production. There's a lot of, like I said, glitz and glamour that's going to happen with the draw until they actually get to the balls and the drawing out of the bulls. But I think, like I said, even if you're not into soccer, I think there is something for everybody in this, and the music. I mean, we were just seeing President Trump there. I think when all is said and done, when it comes to President Trump, that he's going to go down as the soccer president, just in terms of the amount, the volume, and just the consistency of soccer that emanates from him and the White House and obviously the Oval Office. He constantly talks about soccer. He is invested. He's a smart politician. He understands the platform and the opportunity and responsibility that a World Cup and the Olympics, to be fair player. He understands soft power, maybe better than anyone. And I think he will be all over the World Cup.
I mean,
next
he was
summer.
in for the FIFA World Club
Yep, the Club
Championships.
Championship, yep.
I was in the box that day and had a chance to see his passion.
Look at you. Okay.
Oh, did I let that slip? No, thanks to Sean Duffy got me in there. Most of Fox works.
I know.
You
Listen,
know.
I know.
June 11th to July 19th. But I got to see, I'm listening to his questions about the game and how zoned in he is about, he wanted to know the nuances of all of it. Also, his brother Robert was a big guy in soccer in Westchester area, and his son Barron, who's now 6'11", I think.
Yeah, big soccer fan and player.
It was a player over the DC United, I think the DC United Academy team. And you just mentioned, too, the Red Bulls about to hire maybe one of the greatest American soccer players ever, Michael Bradley, as head coach.
That's the rumor right now, and he's just kind of gone through the ranks of coaching, so it's a kind of a logical type of progression. And it's as an older guy, it's fun to see some of these players that you saw, that you commentated on, kind of grow into the next phase of their life. So I if that ends up happening, either way, I think Michael Bradley's going to be a really good coach.
Did you play for his dad?
Yes, at one point I did, and I was with him at the Metro Stars years and years ago.
Great coach, right?
Yes, great coach.
Players loved him. Him and Bruce Arena were unbelievable at Virginia.
Yep, and he's one of the OG types of American soccer coaches, along with guys like Bruce Arena.
So through a translator, Messi does an interview, and he just says he's kind of waiting for the MLS to decide they want to spend like all the big leagues.
Mm-hmm.
When does the math make sense for them to do it, and not just have Messi, but have other fantastic, well-known players?
So keep in mind that Major League Soccer is just finishing its 30th year, okay? And it's the most successful professional soccer league in North American history. Having said that, it could be so much better. So I want MLS to do big, bold things. I want a moonshot. I want the ownership to say, we are going to attempt to be the best league in the world, most popular league in the world. But in order to do that, you have to be able to compete. I don't know when that's going to happen, because keep in mind, MLS, the business structure is with manufactured parity, single entity, which limits the amount that you can spend. And yeah, that creates competition and parity, but there are some owners that want to spend.
And they're making a mockery of the cap, because when you see Messi's money...
there's zhuzh. I mean, it's fluid by nature and flexible by nature.
And Lexi, lastly, they're going to change when the season starts.
Yes.
So it's going to be like the rest of the world is going to start in the fall, but you take it on football.
Well, yeah, and you're playing in some cold weather areas and stuff like that, but you want to align. Look, as proud as I am of what American soccer is, it's also, we're playing a sport that's played all over the world. So that's part of what makes it fun, and we have to respect that, and I think getting on that schedule will help.
Is there a chance the ponytail comes back along with
Would
the
that I
bright red
could,
beard?
my friend. It was a lot of hair ago, but this is the new century version of me. I'm trying.
Very impressive. Alexi Lalas, can't wait to see you in action Friday and Saturday.
It's going to be fun.
All right, it's really all about you.
No, you're the best. You've been soccer through and through for years and years.